Hey, what's up, everybody? It's TJ, co host of the Now Mind You podcast. I'm back again. It's Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022. Giving you a little bit of a review of chapter 247 of Tokyo Revengers by Ken Wakui, titled Hey Dude. Before we get even into this, as always, there will be spoilers throughout this, right? As usual, I like to start with the previous chapter's last panel. Last panel we got your back hero, Kakucho waves Takemichi forward, and Takemichi wipes his cheek. So basically setting up Takemichi versus Kakucho round two. We get a little switch up, right? We open up on Akun checking in on Chifuyu, who is recovering from getting blindsided by Kakucho on his way to Takemichi. Speaking of which, Takemichi and Kakucho are full swing into round two. Once again, we see how Takemichi's show Spirit is buffing up the entire crew. Meanwhile, former leader of the Black Dragons, Madarame Shion, just wrecks Yamagishi, Makoto, and Takuya. Shout out to Ken Wakui for putting in their names because I totally forgot them. Meanwhile, we see that Mochi has chosen Chifuyu, and it's time for their rematch, right? Last time they fought was during the Tenjiku battle, right? The Tenjiku arc. Just like that, we have our next two battles somewhat set up, right? So we got Shion versus Akun and Chifuyu versus Mochi, right? Meanwhile, Mitsuya is plowing through the Kanto cannon fodder looking for Hakai, but spotting Mikey, who is surveilling the brawl, perched up on what appears to be a shipping container, somewhat detached, right? Mitsuya makes a beeline for him when the Haitani bros block his path. Of course, they don't play fair. Senju, Pachin, Peion, Inupi are out there doing work just like the tanks that they are. Just when things look like they're coming to a close for Mitsuya though, here comes Hakai. Last panel, can I hear a help me from Taka-chan? Hell no, you dumbass, as Mitsuya and Hakai face off against the Haitani brothers. That battle gets up. So we end up with quite a few battles set up as a part of this chapter. Now let's get into the review. First and foremost, I would be remiss if I didn't start off by pointing out the sheer drip of second gen Toman under Takemichi's leadership in that full cover double spread title page. Ken Wakui, as I'm sure we've all noticed, right, has an eye for fashion, at least fashion design. Maybe Mitsuya Takashi is just like it's just him, right? It's just like maybe he had aspirations to go into fashion design at some point. Maybe he did. I don't know, but like the guy can draw clothing very well. Like there's just drip, especially those cover pages he does for the Tantokoban or Tankobon or the volumes, right? It's just out of this world. Now, Takemichi is showing all heart and brute force and continuing to buff up the rest of the squad. Like we see that during the brief exchanges we get of round two of him versus Kakucho. Once again, Wakui is undefeated when it comes to drawing backgrounds and all the brawls going on in the BG. We see like full on brawls in the background. It's like he did not become lazy with the background at all. Mid Kakucho versus Takemichi, we also get the setup of like the three side battles, right? Like I mentioned earlier in the summary. Of course, we got some heavy hitters from both sides, right? We got two one-on-ones and 2-on-2. Mochi versus Chifuyu. Chifuyu all day, right? But we have to acknowledge that Mochi grabbed Chifuyu's neck like Darkseid grabbed Superman's cape. We got Akun versus Shion. I see Akun getting somewhat of a glow up in terms of character development, and not to say that he hasn't had any character development because he's been one of the critical players in the series since like day one, right? But I don't know that I see him winning. I don't mind being proven wrong though, and to be fair too, he's been one of Takemichi's day one, so who knows, right? He may have gotten like a crazy buff up. I mean, he's been at a lot of the critical battles too. Let's be real, him and Yamagishi, Takuya, and Makoto, right? I think it was Takuya. Wait, let me go back in my notes. I don't want to mess up their names. Yep. Yamagishi, Makoto, and Takuya, right? They've all been there when Takemichi's gone through some stuff. Now, we also have Mitsuya and Hakai versus the Haitani brothers. And to be fair, I think I'm the most hyped for this 2-on-2 because I don't really think we've seen Hakai's like fighting ability. It's always been hinted that he's very strong ever since his introduction, but he does not really fight. And he's got those scars too, so you can't act like he hasn't ever like gotten into a fight or whatever, but this should be dope. And based on like that one punch he threw at Haitani the younger, homie's got hands on him, so I really want to see what that's about, Something has to be said for Angry and Smiley both acknowledging Takemichi's resilience, because neither of those twins are slouches, right? They are forces to be reckoned with. So for them to acknowledge like, yo, how can he withstand Kakujo's punch? That's saying something. Shout out to Pachin and Payan for just being straight tanks, right? I like how we're getting the hint of potentially some type of confrontation between Koko and Inupi. May not be a battle. It could just be Inupi trying to get Koku to come over to the light, But also shout out to Inupi for, mowing down all these Kanto folks while wearing heels. Like, that's pretty impressive, right? All things considered. This chapter and last chapter, we've seen Kanto father acknowledge the monsters in second generation Toman, but like, let's also remember, let's kind of quantify that with, there are some crazy monsters over on the Kanto side too, and we're just now in this chapter really getting the action set up for some of those monsters to act, right? We saw Kakujo, now we're gonna start seeing some of the rest. And then what else? This I just said that. We gotta talk about Mikey perching on that shipping container, right? It's like he's acting somewhat odd in that in the past he never really seemed like the type of leader to space out like that in battle. We've seen him act like that, outside of battle, maybe like by a lakefront, so on and so forth, kind of daydreaming. But here it's like it's not even that childlike innocence. It's like if it were a battle, it'd be him right there in the middle of it too, right? Throwing hands with his teammates. He just seems super detached. Maybe it's a sign of that maturity, right? That he's detaching himself from what he may deem childish things, but it just seems weird. Like you wouldn't see Mikey's character, all the stuff that's been built up so far in the past timelines. We're not talking about like Bonten or future timelines or whatever, right? Or present timelines, really. But it seems out of character for him. Now I got to give a few shout outs to some of the YouTube subscribers and Instagram and some of you guys who found me through Reddit. But coming off of the last video, and if I butcher your name's pronunciation, I'm so sorry, but I got to give a shout out to Riolu95 on YouTube for pointing out that Mikey's eyes are indeed becoming less cat/animal like, and how that could be linked to him somewhat regaining like his humanity and senses. I really like that. Shout out to you, Riolu95. Also shout out to Guts Guy. Guts Guy has been supporting the video since I first started posting like the Tokyo Avenger stuff. Really appreciate you pointing out how this has the potential to be even more massive and devastating than Bloody Halloween. So yeah, really get that feeling as well. Shout out to you. And of course, shout out Creepy Kitten 7. For one, calling Senju Empress. 100% agree with that. I also agree with your comment about Mikey being super manipulative when it comes to Inupi. Thank you all for the continued support, and thank you for starting that discussion in the comments. Appreciate y'all. Now my predictions and questions. Kakujo versus Takemichi can make or break the momentum Toman is getting right now. I still stand by that, and I still think Toman's got to take a massive L in order to balance out the scales. I want to see Senju versus Haruchio. It just makes sense to me. I also am wondering about Waka and Benkei. Like, what are they up to? Will they pull a Baji? You know what I mean when I say, will they pull a Baji? What's up with Senju's older brother, Akashi? Remember, he was the first vice president of the Black Dragons. And you know what my thought there, right? They keep saying Takemichi is very similar to Sano Shinichiro. What's going to go on there? I think somehow Takemichi's resemblance to Mikey's older brother, his connection to the Black Dragons, Akashi not really being in the picture, but he's got to be aware of what's going on currently, right? I think that's going to somehow make a play into how this all ends up tying together, how this all ends up resolving, right? All in all, I thought this was a great chapter, and I can't wait to read everyone's thoughts and engage in that conversation. Again, as always, first of all, shout out to Guts Guy, Riolo95. I'm sorry, Riolu95. I'm sorry about that, Riolo. I didn't mean to mispronounce, but Riolu95, and of course, Creepy Kitten 7. Shout out to everyone on Reddit. Shout out to everyone on Instagram, YouTube, for just giving this a watch and a listen. I appreciate you taking the time. unfortunately, it looks like it might be a while until we get another chapter. I'm sure some of you guys may have heard, but like Tokyo Revengers is not going to be on like an indefinite hiatus, somehow related to COVID. Hopefully, Wakui and the team are going to recover okay. Wishing them all the best. This is an excellent series, and I'm sure you would love to see this wrapped up. It's what it is, though. Maybe it's time to just do a Tokyo Revengers reread, right? Get even more caught up on things, right? But as always, if you like what you're hearing, hit up the main podcast and give it a follow at NowMindYouPod on Instagram. Thank you all so much. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.